It's time that we talk about the elephant in the room that is the Infinity Nikki 1.5 update. I have been really unsure how I want to go about making this for a handful of reasons, but I feel it's time. I wanted to give time for things to try to be fixed, to process my own thoughts and feelings on everything, and I've hit that point where I feel I really need to kind of talk about it. I do want to preface this by saying that, yes, I am one of the official Infinity Nikki content creators. However, everything I'm going to talk about in this video is 100% my own opinion. It comes directly from my heart, and there is no influence over how I'm going to talk about any of this. Now, that being said, I am going to stay as cordial as I can because I do feel there have definitely been some fanning of the flames, and unfortunately, a lot of us official creators have been kind of taking the burns from those flames. So I'm going to do my best to keep this as cordial as I can, but I really do want to talk about what's going on because Infinity Nikki has a very special place in my heart. All of the Nikki games do, and this update has left a lot to be desired, and I'm not going to deny that at all. The first kind of thing I want to talk about is the recent apology. It feels like they said a lot without really addressing anything, if I'm honest. I feel like reading that they didn't really understand what a lot of our concerns were, why we were upset, or really how heavily these bugs and stuff were affecting a lot of people in the community. One of the biggest things that I really think they misunderstood was the Threads of Reunion dress and the original opening. I know a lot of us were really, really upset to hear that how a lot of us started the experience of this game, you know, in Nikki's attic and finding the Threads of Reunion dress and meeting Aina and, you know, obtaining the Heart of Infinity was just gone. It was gone. New players coming in didn't see it if they came in during 1.5, and I know many of the new players were really confused because the Sea of Stars quest references things that happened in that storyline, and it left a lot of us feeling unsure of, you know, if anything that we experience is really going to be safe in terms of story, or potentially it's all just going to get retconned anyway. And I know that a lot of us were more concerned about the missing story point. However, the apology seemed to focus in more on the actual physical Threads of Reunion dress. And obviously a lot of us care about that dress. It is a gorgeous piece, and I know a lot of us are anticipating it being one of the miracle outfits that we have to find. But at the end of the day, I know, at least for me, I was more concerned about this wonderful storyline that I loved and was obsessed with being just gone. That's what got me more than anything. I do also feel like they just did not respond to a lot of our big concerns, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit here. I really want to focus on just what was in the apology first. And what got me the most is they very much started it off by saying, hey, we appreciate your guys' dedication. We didn't want to say anything until we had stuff fixed. It's been 3 weeks. It's been so long, and many people don't even want to listen anymore because they didn't tell us anything. They left us out in the open. And then when they do come in with this apology, you know, sure, we hear a little bit about that the whole Threads of Reunion thing being missing was apparently unintentional. Again, no promise of restoring it though. And they slipped in information about what sounds to be spending events when there's already a very big community concern over a lot of monetization things. And for those of you guys that are unaware of spending events, the spending events are actually similar to something we have going on in the shop right now, which is the Bubble Gratitude. This is a spending event. This is something that for real world money that you spend, you get rewards. But the timing of them talking about more spending type events feels a bit tone deaf. And this is kind of a theme you guys are going to hear me mention a lot. There's a lot of concerns over monetization. And again, we're going to talk about that and what they haven't addressed in just a bit. But to slip that in, and it was slipped in as a single sentence sandwiched in the middle of a paragraph about two entirely different things. It was just slid in there very quietly, and that really gets to me. And then on top of all of this, on top of us finally hearing something, finally getting an announcement about everything, for it to not really address anything, it doesn't give us a timeline of things being fixed. They're letting us know that they're gonna extend this update for an extra week to try to get time to fix it all. There's no real timeline. There's no real knowing of what they're actually focusing on and fixing right now. But they basically said a lot without really telling us much of what's going on. And I know a lot of us really just want communication. More than anything, I want to know that we have been heard, what their plans are regarding community concerns, and maybe some roadmaps. Even if they're not perfect, even if things change over time, I want to know what I can expect to be worked on around what time. I want to know what's being prioritized, what is being thought about, how they want to change things for the community concerns. And that's really important to me. However, we didn't get any of that really. And then we are getting compensation. We are getting compensation for the problems. However, it doesn't amount to a 10-pull even. I believe it comes out to 980 gems, I believe. I will add a screenshot of the actual amount here in just a moment on screen for you guys, but it's not even a full 10-pull. And my biggest thing is there's a lot of people who have been physically unable to log into the game, which means they're not getting their diamonds from dailies. If they currently have monthly gifts, they're not only not getting the diamonds from that monthly gifts, but they are losing days on that monthly gifts. So we're not even getting enough to cover what people have lost because of being physically unable to log into the game or stay logged in due to bugs. I've had several days where I couldn't play for half the day. I would get in, and within about 30 seconds, I would get disconnected from the server. And on top of that, in order to receive this compensation, it does sound like you have to log in every day for the last 8 days of this update. So that's going to be basically the week it's extended in order to get this compensation. Which means for people who are still unable to log in, if they are still unable to log in before the update's over, they're just losing. They're losing everything. And it's not enough to pull people back into the game. And I feel like that's a really important fact here. They have lost a lot of us in this update. They have lost a lot of players. And even the ones who are still logging in to do their dailies, a lot of people have lost their hope and are on the verge of quitting the game. And the compensation given, in addition to the not really addressing a lot of things, not really giving us information about what's being prioritized, is just discouraging players further. And that hurts a little bit, you know? I really wanted to be seen. We've been promised great communication. They very much made it sound like the goal here was to really work with the community. But to have a radio silence when things go wrong and we do voice our opinions really makes it feel like we don't know how much they actually want to hear what we're saying. So now that we've talked about the apology, I want to talk about what wasn't talked about in the apology. Because there is a lot of community concerns, and I don't even think I'm going to be able to touch on all of them here, but these are the ones that I'm aware of, the ones that I've spoken about, the ones that I know haven't been touched on. And the first thing is the monetization of the game. You know, I know this is a free-to-play gacha game. Part of playing this game is going to be the pressure to spend, and that's a fact of playing a gacha game, and I can fully understand that. However, what I can't stand by is the change in the cost of outfits. Obviously, both of our 5-star outfits this update have 11 pieces, and there is no hard pity for the outfits, only hard pity to get a single piece. So that means it is 220 wishes it could potentially take to complete one of the outfits. We're not receiving more diamonds in game, we're not receiving more pulls, but our outfits are getting more expensive. Now, they did in a previous statement say that they have heard us and they promised to never make it more than 11 pieces for an outfit, but even then, just the fact that they had gone up to 11, our first banners were 9 each, and then everything since then has been 10, and then this update was 11 apiece. And not only was it raised to 11, but it was raised to 11 in an update where we had 2 banners. And that really got me. I have spent a not small amount on this game. I'm not going to disclose how much, but I have spent a not small amount. And I feel like it wasn't, I don't want to say appreciated, because I understand it's a game. It's part of the fact of gacha, but I don't like feeling like they're going to slowly move that goalpost more and more and more. That is what gets me. That's why I am so upset about the outfits and the cost of them. But on top of that, we not only have the cost of outfits going up, in the store, we have fake sales. This bubble wand is 99 pence. It's 92% off because they were going to charge 14 pounds for it. First off, in what world would you be able to charge 14 pounds or $14 for this item? And in what world are you ever going to charge that much? In what world is anybody going to pay that much? And this is a business tactic. But it's a business tactic that is illegal in a lot of places, to market higher and then basically always have it on sale, to never actually have it go for that original price. And it is to make us feel like we are getting a better deal. You look at that and you go, oh, it's 92% off and it's only $1? Sure, why not? But would you ever really have been comfortable paying more than $1 for this item? Do you think they ever would have really charged more than $1 for this item? And it's even worse with the bathtub, in my opinion. I think the bathtub is really cool. I haven't bought it. Because at 10 pounds for a prop that I know a lot of people have said has been buggy, it's crashing their games when they use it, it's not working properly. You're getting, what, a hairstyle, a cloak, and a pose for 10 pounds. That is a lot. But on top of that, they're trying to claim that they planned on, or plan on in the future, charging almost 50 pounds for this. But are making us feel like we're getting a great deal because they're only charging 10 right now, and it's 79% off. And that right there, this exact spot, these fake sales are what tip the scale in monetization for me. These fake sales make me feel like they are less genuine about their monetization. and about wanting to make it accessible for everybody. I would rather them be straight honest. Just set it at the price you're gonna charge for it. Because I can almost guarantee you, we will never see this bathtub appear in the shop at 49 pounds. And if we do, I'm not gonna lie, I'll be surprised, because that is insane pricing. But I don't think we ever will. This is a tactic to make us feel like we are getting a better deal than we are. And that is rough. And to not only do this, but do this at a time they also have a spending event going on is insane. You know, obviously you guys can see I've spent a little bit. I bought the monthly gift because I want to have hope that we will see things turn around. But I don't even want to know if I want to finish this, because I don't know if I want to put that money into this game right now. With how things are going monetization wise, and myself and several other people having times where they're physically unable to play the game. On top of that, they have not addressed the die feature. So if you guys haven't seen it, we do have access to the die feature now, which is kind of cool, but it is really expensive, and parts of it are locked behind having evolutions of the outfit. You can see everything from here, these last 4 pellets, I do not have access to because I do not have the evolution of the item. And then on top of that, each of these palettes you have to unlock, and it doesn't unlock it across the board. It doesn't unlock it for the full outfit. It only unlocks it for this one piece. It is expensive both in-game currency, as well as I have seen several people reporting and seen several images of people dyeing an outfit and looking at it in here and it being stunning, absolutely beautiful, absolutely amazing. And they take it into the open world and it is an entirely different tone. Color tone specifically. It is not the same as it looks in here, to the point that it's not just lighting affecting the outfit. It is entirely different. And that is a problem as well. That is a very big problem with it. You know, if I am grinding out in-game currency or even spending money to buy more of the prisms, of the currency to do the dye feature, and I am working really hard and I make this gorgeous piece, and then I take it into the open world, and every color is not quite what it looked like, and not just because of lighting. Not just because of lighting. We can look at this outfit as an example. It's not dyed, right? If I come into here, the color and the tones of this outfit inside the wardrobe are the same as in the open world. You can see the hair sometimes looks a little bit lighter, but you can still see the same tonality. What we are seeing from the dye features is not that. It is not that. And that is a huge problem, in my opinion. We also haven't really heard anything about what they're doing with co-op right now. That was the big pull of this update, was we were getting co-op. We were going to be able to play with our friends. We can explore together. We can do all of these things. But it is full of bugs. It is so full of bugs. When you go to the Sea of Stars area, I have seen so many insane bugs happen. I tend to struggle to stay connected to the game more if I go into the Sea of Stars, and I have found that the actual interactions that we get with random Nikkies aren't really that impressive, in my opinion. I almost feel like it would have been better if the Sea of Stars was like, you go and everybody's there and you can actually see each other and you can more directly interact. And then you could choose to party up with each other if you wanted. But seeing all the shadows of Nikki's, it is cool. Half the time it's empty. Half the time it's empty when I go over there. And it's really cool. I love the idea of what they want. But I feel like it's lackluster in terms of what they were promised. Of what we've been promised. And it's so full of bugs that I don't even want to interact with it. I go over there to do my Sea of Stars dailies. and then I leave. I even make an effort to not log out of the game while in that area because I am terrified that I am going to get stuck in a bug loop and unable to play the game if I log out in Sea of Stars and I log back in and there's a massive bug. That's not fun. I want to enjoy co-op. I think it's such a cool thing for them to have added, but I think they bit off a bit more than they could chew in this case. And instead of communicating with us and being open and honest about it, they pushed it out without enough testing. And now many of us are suffering because of that. Many of us are struggling to stay connected to the game and are losing out on a lot of stuff because of it. We also have, coming off of co-op, the Swish and Soiree. The new runway event with the new area, with the PCs, and it is limited to 2 hours a day, 8 to 10 p.m. server time. Now, of course, that's not going to always be 8 to 10 for you, because server time does not always equal your time zone. Server time is set in a specific time zone. So for me, it's 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And honestly, that is one of the most comfortable time frames I have seen for a lot of people. But even then, it is limited to 2 hours. I know that if I'm streaming, I'm usually streaming during that time, which means if we're not playing Nikki that day, I don't get to participate. If somebody has just come home from work and is making dinner, they don't get to participate. It locks a lot of people out of participating. And I know a lot of people have a lot of problems with that. It being so limited, especially when there's rewards like diamonds and clothing pieces and pattern swatches and everything else, it shouldn't be so limited. And of course, the last thing that we have, which I've kind of referenced a handful of times, is they haven't referenced or really addressed the amount of diamonds that a lot of people have lost because they've been physically unable to log into the game. I have seen interactions with people who have emailed regarding this and have either been told to log in on a different device, made to feel like it's their fault, or just received no help. And we're not even just talking about losing diamonds from daily logins. These are people reaching out because they had bought the monthly gifts right before the update. And when the update dropped, they can't get into the game and they can't stay connected long enough to actually receive those monthly gifts. Which means they have basically spent money on this game expecting for 1.5 to be playable, to be, enjoyable, for them to be able to log in every day. They wanted to log in every day. And now they can't. And now the money they spent on that monthly gift is essentially wasted because they're not getting the diamonds every day, but it counts down days regardless of if you log in or not. So people are losing potentially up to 180 diamonds a day. That's a pull and a half every day that they are physically unable to log into the game because of the bugs that have been brought about in 1.5. And I know there's probably a handful of other things that they have missed. And you guys are welcome to let me know in the comments and really talk about what you feel they've kind of missed addressing as well, because I want to know what you guys feel like is being missed. I want to know. There is a lot that's been going on with this update, and while I've done my best to do my due diligence, I'm not perfect. I'm not. I try to keep up with everything, but I'm just not. And I feel like it's gonna take them a lot to be able to fix it. So let's talk about how they potentially could fix this. Now, of course, these are my own ideas. These are ideas I've heard from the community. You guys are also welcome to talk about what you think might work below. I feel like there's no one right answer here, but I do feel like it is something that things need to be addressed and changed. And the first thing I really want, more than anything, is more open communication. I want to know what they've identified, what they're working on, what their priorities are in terms of bugs and community concerns. I feel like I would feel so much more heard if they just went, hey, we have heard about X, Y, and Z happening. We are aware. We are prioritizing these two out of them because they do seem to have a bigger effect on more people. And these are kind of our plans. I think a lot of people would feel a lot more comfortable with that. I feel like a lot of us would be able to look at that and go, okay, they've heard us. We know what's happening. They know what's happening. Let's hope they can fix it. Because right now it seems like they only really want to communicate with us when they have something fixed or about to come out as a fix. You know, I look at this and I feel like there's so much that just hasn't been addressed. And it feels like it hasn't been addressed because they want to wait until it's fixed. But waiting until it's fixed is just going to mean we're sitting here essentially in silence while promotional posts are still going out. I know a lot of people have even seen an uptick in Infinity Nikki, like, ads they've been getting on other social medias. I know, of course, we had the problem with after the apology, an update post was posted on Twitter and other social medias that an hour later they posted all the new outfits for the second half of 1.5. And I know a lot of people, myself included, feel like it just kind of buried it. So all this information, all this time to give us, you know, what they feel was the appropriate update is then just buried by, hey, look at the shiny new things that you can get. When a lot of people don't want to try to get anything when they don't know if they're going to be able to physically play the game. I am hesitant to make any more wishes this update because, you know, I want to be certain that I can use these items and that things are going to be fixed before I'm comfortable spending money. I feel like we need more communication and we need better communication. And I think a lot of people would agree with me on that. I also hope, dear God, that they get rid of the fake sales. Please, please get rid of the false sales. I look at that and it feels so disingenuous. And that makes me less inclined to buy it. And I know their hope is that it's going to make you more inclined because your brain's going to see that and you're going to go, ooh, sale. But I look at that and I'm like, who would pay that original price? They're never going to charge that original price. And if they do, I feel like it's a bit crazy. Just please Infold, please Nikki Dev team, no more fake sales in the store. I'm serious. I don't think it's doing what you think it's doing. I think it's discouraging people more than anything. Especially when, like, the bathtub is still not cheap to buy. It is still 10 pounds. That is a lot of money still. I also would like to see a set hard pity for outfits. A set hard pity for the full outfit. You know, you can still do a guaranteed 5-star piece per 20 wishes. That's totally fine. But I think that you should set it so that you get the full outfit by 180 or even 200, even if it's just hard set at 200. You know, then when we have an 11-piece outfit, or if they really, really want to make something with a few extra pieces, we can still guarantee that we will get that outfit in our 200 wishes. We can still be certain that we will get that outfit within the 200 wishes. We still have a chance of getting it early, but I think there needs to be a hard pity for the outfits. I think that that is something that would make people feel a lot more comfortable. And I think it would let people be better prepared for new outfits coming out. And I think that would help a lot, if I'm honest. I also think that they need to look at the dye system. I don't think the dye system should be as expensive as it is. And I feel like I would like to have some more basic colors, or even just have it so that the colors that we dye the outfit aren't so heavily affected by the underlayers. It's really, really frustrating to be trying to dye stuff and the color shown in the palette does not look anything like the color that's reflected on the item at all. And especially with so many similar tones and shades, I feel like even the idea of it being so that, you know, pieces that have, you know, slight variation in their color so that it, you know, has a more realistic appearance or whatever, will still have that, but they separate those areas out by different colors anyway most of the time. And you can absolutely have it be slightly darker or slightly lighter for those pattern bits, but I want a more true dye reflection. I also think they need to reinstate the start of the game. I need a promise. I need a promise that the intro that we fell in love with will be put back into the game. And I know they mentioned, oh, it was difficult to do while also having the Sea of Stars. They can do what most other gacha games have done with co-op. If you guys have played other gacha games that happen to have co-op, you probably know that you do not get co-op right away. It is locked behind usually a certain world, not world level, but like player level. So in this case, it'd be our mirror level. And I think they could totally do that. I think they could totally do that. You can lock it behind a certain mirror level and maybe a certain point in the main storyline so that new players aren't confused or overwhelmed, and we don't lose out on really kind of seeing a bit behind the veil of Nikki, you know? We have now lost out on knowing that Nikki was trying to find a dress for her graduation when she got isekai'd in. And meeting Aina and hearing about things not being as perfect as they seem. It's really important to the story, and a lot of it is referenced in the Sea of Stars stuff. So to not have that there is more confusing for new players. You know, they can still have it that as soon as you initiate the quest for co-op, maybe it throws you immediately into that beautiful cutscene. Because I do love the cutscene at the start of this update. I thought it was stunning. I thought it was amazing. I do wish we didn't get thrown into it immediately. But I think there's ways around it. And I think maybe they weren't willing to look at the reality of the situation. And that kind of goes into my next thing. I would rather them not rush out updates. I feel like they rushed this update out because a lot of people were excited about co-op and a lot of other things. And a lot of people were getting restless. Because we weren't getting new story, which I'll touch on in a minute here. But I would rather them communicate, especially because a lot of them talking about 1.5 and what was coming, they made a lot of references to, oh, there's going to be no more empty promises. We really, this is going to be the biggest thing yet. You know, everything that we've been lacking in the last couple updates. And they've been so light because we've been putting everything into this update. And then this update drops, and we don't really have much in the way of main story. Half the main story that we know and love feels like it's been retconned out of the game. Everything is so buggy that people can't even play it. It broke a lot of people's hearts, and it definitely broke a few promises. I would rather them go, hey, we want a little more time to test this feature, so hopefully we'll be able to pull it out next patch. That would have been fine. And I also wish that we had a proper roadmap. Like, even if it's not perfect, even if things have to change, give us an idea of what's coming and what's being worked on, because I also think that would make the quieter updates feel not so empty. But along the same things of, like, updates being so empty, I feel like we need more main story on a regular basis. We're supposed to be going through Nikki's adventures in Mirrorland and seeing, you know, her save the world, it feels like. And since the game dropped, we haven't really had any progression in the main storyline. We haven't. And I feel like every, you know, maybe 1 to 2 updates, there should be a main story quest. And not like a 5-minute, hey, we're still on track, but like an actual continuation of the story. I want to feel like we're going somewhere. Because right now, a lot of this feels very directionless. And that's making it harder to want to keep playing when things are broken. We aren't as invested in a story anymore because we haven't really been given updates to stories. And we also feel like what we did love of the story has been retconned. It's not there anymore. The cutscenes are gone. And I would love to see just more main story progress. Please let me see Nikki check up on how things are going and what our next adventure is going to be. Where are we going next? Who are we going to go try to save? What are we doing here? What is our purpose? Because obviously we're here for a reason. But I feel like, okay, so we're trying to find the miracle outfits. Great. Nikki's just vibing, doing nothing towards that. You know, we're not making progress. And that makes it harder to want to stick around. And that's, I think we need more story progression constantly. I think they also need, please, and I am begging, either make multiple times to enter the Swish and Soiree, make it so you can enter early, like you can submit your outfit and then it'll just run it during the 2-hour slot, or make it a wider time slot, please. Please. So many people can't participate because they're always at work or school or asleep. Make it more accessible. It really pushes that FOMO, which I thought we were trying to not have FOMO. I also think they need to be more careful about when they're posting their promotional content. I know that that's caused a lot of frustration this update. I know a lot of people have felt like, you know, we're not hearing anything. They're not telling us anything. We're not getting updates. We don't know if they're actually hearing what we're saying about the bugs happening and about the problems. But we're getting promotions and we're getting ads for Nikki every other freaking thing. And we need to be more mindful, I think, of when they're posting promotions. And I understand that it may be different teams. I understand these may have been pre-scheduled, but it feels really disingenuous to feel like they are pushing and pushing and pushing. If I'm sitting here and I am having some massive problems, and I know most of the community is, and we're not getting answers, we're not getting acknowledgement of these issues, but we're getting promotions on our social medias constantly, then it feels like they're just like, okay, we'll just get new players then. And that's kind of hurtful. And the last thing I think we really need to hopefully see fixed is the reruns. Now, I know this isn't really something a lot of people have talked about, but I definitely feel like the rerun system right now is not the best, maybe. Now, we don't know how the 5-star reruns are quite yet. Those will be in the next 2 updates, hopefully. But it seems like it's just being run as an additional banner based on the Froggy Fashion rerun, the 4-star one. So we have 2 4-star banners for the update. And then we have a third one that is our Froggy Fashion rerun. And I think, especially with the concerns about monetization, it would be a little bit better if maybe we had the reruns take the place of one of the banners of the update, right? So if we're gonna have a 2 5-star banner update, cool, have 1 new outfit and have 1 rerun. Oh, our 2 4-stars, 1's new and 1 is a rerun. I feel like that would work a lot better. Or at the very least to have maybe some communication about, you know, maybe having them put the banners into a like standard similar pool after a certain time, or after it's been rerun a couple times, you know, maybe. So we have our initial banner and then we have 2 reruns of an outfit and then it'll be made available in the standard pool. I feel like we're getting a lot of outfits very quickly. We don't know when we're going to see them again. And if they're just being ran in addition to new outfits, it's just going to make it more and more expensive. If you guys have any other thoughts about things that they could maybe do to kind of better the state of the game, I would love to hear it. I really, really would. I just kind of want to talk about like where I'm sitting with the game before we call it. Because I can see the vision. But as I've mentioned, it feels like the plot's been lost, both literally and figuratively. It means the world to me to be able to play a gacha game and feel like its target audience And I know many of us who are femme presenting and play gacha games, we're really, really excited about that. For a lot of us, this is the first time that we felt a gacha game, or really anything like this, has been geared for us. We are the intended audience. And that hit home for me. And I don't want to see it fail. But I feel like we've lost the plot. And it is very painful, feeling like our voices aren't being heard and they're not really paying as much attention, especially after them having made such a big deal about valuing our feedback and wanting to know our thoughts and wanting to work with the community to shape the future of Nikki. But we're all sitting here feeling like we're getting nothing. You know, this game has really broken the mold. This has really like stood out in a lot of ways, right? I don't think we've had another open world Nikki game, at least not like this. I believe this is the first like PC available game that Infold has done. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And of course, the amount of gacha games actually geared towards a more femme presenting audience, though anybody can enjoy it, is very small. And they have such potential to do so much, but it feels like we're not getting things properly tested. They're rushing things out, and it almost feels like they are relying on us going, oh, but it breaks the mold. It's so different. It's something new. I want the new thing, to look past all the bugs and the problems, and I don't think many of us are willing to do that. To close this out, I hope that things can be repaired, but I know that it's going to take a lot of work. And the longer it takes between getting updates from the devs and the more that those updates leave unaddressed and untalked about, I think the harder it's going to be for things to get back to where it could be. And the longer it takes to do those things, the more work it's going to take to get Nikki back to what it was on track to be for those first couple updates. Infinity Nikki had such an ability to do so much, and it makes me sad seeing things not follow through. So I hope that things can be fixed, but the longer it takes, the less hope I have. If anybody from Infold or the Infinity Nikki team sees this, please communicate with us. Understand where we're coming from. Take the time to not just hear what we're saying, but understand what we're saying and why we're saying it. And to the community, please be kind to each other. If you need to take a break, it's totally understandable. And I hope for all of our sakes, because I know this game touched a lot of people's hearts and means a lot to a lot of people. I genuinely hope that we can get back on a track that we're happy with as a community, and that it can kind of recover from everything. Thank you guys for hanging out and listening to me kind of rant for an ungodly amount of time. And I know it took me a while to really open up and talk about this, but it was hard for me too. I needed to process a lot of thoughts, and I really wanted to kind of see what the plan was, if things were going to be fixed, how things were going to go. And with the most recent apology, I just needed to speak up, because I love this game. I love what this game could be. But I think, like many others, I'm starting to feel like what we were promised isn't what we're getting. And I know a lot of us probably feel betrayed because of that. So thank you guys for hanging out. Please take care of yourselves. Do what you need for you. And hopefully, we can all support each other and see things thrive.